to go. For the early part, especially those two losses to begin ACC play. So I think that they're going to have another chance to take a step forward. I think, again, even though he didn't play great the other night on the offensive end, Leaky Black he's playing much smarter on that end. And, it's a huge confidence booster that he absolutely took Buddy Boeheim out of the game in that second half. This is a guy that scored 18 in the first half. Did he score in the second half? No, he didn't end up finishing with any points in the second half. That is what we are looking for from Leaky Black. This is where the comparisons to Theo Pinson are starting to piece together and make a little bit of sense. That's what you want to see going forward from him, and you're going to need that from him in this game, no matter who he's on. If he's on MJ Walker, which is probably the best bet, he needs to come out and play well against him because you need to be able to take away their best scoring option. Because we saw when you did it against Syracuse, there were other guys that had to step up. Now, for Syracuse, they did have a guy that stepped up, but he gets in foul trouble and leaves the game. Then the pressure is on someone else. That's what you've got to do if you're Carolina. Make the secondary options beat you. Don't let the main options beat you. Now, there are some teams like Iowa where you tried to do that, but it still didn't work out in your favor. But I feel more confident that there's not a team in the ACC that's gonna be like that. Maybe that's just me. I don't see a team that really is that dominant throughout. Iowa is a legitimate Final Four contender. That's probably the best team right now in the Big Ten, and that's saying something. So that's, I think, the biggest thing. Makes a secondary guy beat you. And, on the offensive end, one of the other things I wanted to mention is I liked the spacing that Carolina was able to get. That was against the zone. One of the ways that they can create space is they need to see more screen action, more pick and roll action. I don't know about you. Over the last couple of years, that seemed to disappear from Carolina's offense. Not completely, but that used to be an integral part of what Carolina did every time that they were in a half-court set. We have not seen that as much the last couple of years. I don't know if that's because they can't execute it or what. If they want to be able to free each other up more, because they're just, even the other night, they're not a team that can consistently move without the basketball. It just disappears at times. It's frustrating, but I think that's one of the ways you can help your team offensively.
I think a big reason is because Kobe White and Cole Anthony were really good isolation players that they could create on their own. And so that's why it's maybe gone away. But also, Carolina's bigs aren't pick and roll bigs, not even really Garrison Brooks, because that jump shot isn't as consistent, and you could take away him rolling to the basket and getting an easy lay-in. So that's a part of it. It's just the fact that with Bryce Johnson, you could pick and pop because he can hit the 18-footer. Same thing with Kennedy Meeks, Isaiah Hicks. And and you got to think about that as well. But, I thought the ball movement was better. Their spacing was better. Roy Williams can coach against his own defense as well as anybody we've ever seen in the college game. That's something he got from Dean Smith. Right. Carolina can pick apart any zone defense that there is in college basketball.
I think ACC teams should be required to play zone defense the rest of the year against us. Let's just put that in place. It would definitely help this.
So, but you're just starting to see you're starting to see glimpses, and when it all comes together, it's going to be something beautiful. And then you're going to be like, well, that's the guy Roy Williams recruited. That's why this guy started. That's why this and that. Like, that's why this team has expectations. This team can be really, really good.
Do not ever, at this point, it's reached this point. Do not ever compare this team to last year's team. That is out the window. Last year's team would not have won 3 straight in the ACC like they have. They wouldn't have beaten Syracuse. That's out. That you cannot compare this team. This team is already so much better than that team.
Well, the biggest thing about this year's team, as much as any team that Carolina's ever had under Roy Williams, they fight and scrap for 40 minutes. No matter, do they always play smart? No, but their effort is always there. And I think for a young team, that's inspiring because you could understand with the losing, with all the expectation and the negativity all from the media and the fan base, and even some of the coaching staff, you'd have to imagine, if they were to kind of mail it in a little bit and their effort would have dropped. Caleb Love hasn't played great one time this year, but his effort has never, dissipated because of his poor level of play. So that's the thing to be encouraged about. It's why, even when I called out Roy Williams a few weeks ago, he's still getting through to his team because their effort is still there and they're buying into what he's saying. They're just not executing what they're wanting to buy in or what he's asking them to do. So, with that, look, it's a big game. This is as big a game Carolina's played this season. Noon tip on ESPN, which I'm an old duddy now. I love early games. I love them playing at noon. And I really love the fact that this is not going to be a full Tucker Center because that place, when it's full and it's rocking, Carolina struggles. Even though under Roy Williams, they are 8-4 all time in Tallahassee. That stat did kind of catch me by surprise. Usually because when they get beat, they get beat.
We play horrible.
And they usually get beat pretty bad when they go down there. With that in mind, look, this 3-game win streak's been fun. I think Carolina's going to lose tomorrow or today, as when you guys are hearing this. But I think it'll be a loss where, in a weird way, we'll still leave encouraged. I don't think it'll be like when they didn't finish at NC State and they didn't finish at Georgia Tech, where it's just like, man, the sky's falling. They can't defend the three. They can't do this. They can't do that. I think they're going to play a really good team for 40 minutes. I think they're going to push them to the limit, and it won't be enough. But we'll leave the game still feeling positive about Carolina.
I got to admit, I like the situation that Carolina's coming in on. 3-game win streak for themselves, a lot of confidence going in their direction. You're facing a Florida State team that shot as good as you're going to shoot in a game all season. It's not going to get much better than that. And usually what happens when you have a game like that? We've seen it from our standpoint and even from other teams that have beaten Carolina after having those games. They come back to earth that next game. I think that this is going to be a 40-minute game, and it's going to come down to the end. And the thing that I think, I think Florida State will win this game. I think it'll probably be by 2 or 3 points. I think that there is a really good chance that Carolina can win this game because we've seen, even from that Georgia Tech game, that team looked like a team that was young, that just didn't know how to finish games. That team that we saw the other night against Syracuse looked like a completely different team. A team that knew what the situation that they were in, and they've got veteran guys that can step up. We saw it in the late game situations against both Miami and Notre Dame that both Andrew Platek, Leaky Black stepped up. You saw Garrison Brooks step up. I think that's what you're going to see going forward. I think that, those senior guys stepping up, they know what their role has to be right now. So I think that's really going to help this team. It'll be a really, really close game, but I'm with you. I think Florida State wins, but it will be very close. And I would not be shocked if Carolina wins this game. And I said it to you earlier. If they win this game, you have to put them at least in a conversation of a team that can win the ACC. Because right now, there's no clear favorite in the ACC, and if they're 4-2, you look at the upcoming schedule where they can stack up some wins, and the fact that the back half of the schedule looks a little more or a little less rocky than it originally did. I think it's stacking up as a really good recipe for Carolina, and boy, what a win that would be on Carolina's resume right there to beat Florida State at Florida State.
Yeah, for a really young team, Roy Williams always says going on the road and getting wins is like stealing brownies. I don't know what a win for this team could do because it would just send the confidence through the roof, and you could see this team really peak and elevate its level of play and take itself to the next level. We both got them losing, but regardless, we'll have you covered on the HeelToughBlog.com. Mark Green's will actually have the post-game recap for you guys tomorrow as Anthony is going to be moving his sister into Carolina. I'm going to be in a hair salon with my girlfriend when she gets her hair done. But we'll have you covered HeelToughBlog.com. You can go there right now and check out my preview. I've previewed the game fully in depth. You can check that out also football-wise. Look, we're in the offseason mode, but Carolina landed a transfer the other day from Tennessee and Ty Chandler. That's going to help their backfield. They had a football player get elected into the Hall of Fame. Anthony's got you covered on all the football news around Carolina football as well on HeelToughBlog.com. And lastly, we encourage you guys to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. You can find us on every major podcasting platform, most notably Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Podcasts. Give us a like, review me as the host, review Anthony as the host, review Mark as the host. Most importantly, I want you guys to subscribe so we get every podcast in your podcast feed. Well, with that, thank you. Thank Anthony for taking some time out of his night, working late to talk a little Carolina basketball. We thank you guys for listening, and as always, go Tar Heels.